What is going on, everybody? This is one of the most fun videos I do each year, which is my top 10 breakouts of the upcoming NFL season. The criteria here is basically no rookies. Anyone else is on the table. Before we hop in, I do want to issue a quick reminder to please hit that like button and subscribe to make sure you don't miss any NFL analysis as the season goes on. We got big plans for this year. And then I also want to say I don't usually use NFL film on my videos because the NFL will more often than not copyright it, and I'm basically just putting my work day towards a donation towards the National Football League, which I fully expect to happen with this video. I just want to say, if you enjoy the content and want to support the channel and support this video, you can do so on my Patreon, where you'll get exclusive access to videos including film rooms, among other things, or just do a donation, paypal.me/TFGfootball or at Marcus-Whitman on Venmo. I appreciate you in advance, and this is going to be a really fun video. So here we go. This is, kind of in order of significance. Take it as you will. Starting at number 10 with Cowboys cornerback Chidobe Awuzie, a second-round pick in 2017 out of Colorado. Awuzie has some pretty big shoes to fill, with Byron Jones leaving for Miami on a big free agent contract, their number one corner over the last few years. But Awuzie has been developing over that time. He fits the size profile, the athletic profile to really step up, and has been playing well. The Cowboys, who have playoff expectations this year, I do think have good reason to have those expectations for Awuzie to step up into that role in a contract year for Awuzie, who hopes to secure a similar bag that his former teammate Byron Jones did. So I like the athleticism. I think his tape has really shown some good signs as that athletic, big-bodied outside perimeter player, and I think is poised for a big year in 2020. Number 9, Rashan Gary of the Green Bay Packers. I was a huge advocate for Rashan Gary coming out of the draft in 2019 as one of the more disrespected players in that class, in my opinion. This guy is a total freak. He has raw power, and he even showed it in his limited opportunities in his first year in Green Bay. Now, when he was drafted, I didn't love the scheme fit, while I did love the player. I saw Gary as a bigger defensive end, needed to play in more of that 4-3 defensive end spot because of that big body profile. And some people even went as far as saying he needs to play interior defensive lineman. I never went that far. I thought his best tape was on the edge with that bull rush that becomes a threat because he does have enough speed to get the edge. All that said, he has reshaped his body, and lots of circumstances are setting up for Gary to have a big year in 2020. He has now physically shaped his body to the point where he can play that 3-4 outside linebacker much more effectively. Beyond that, he is healthy. When he was drafted, he was dealing with some nagging injuries that led to him playing poorly in his final season at Michigan. So he is healthy, he has reshaped his body to fit the scheme, and most importantly, why he has a path to break out. Many people don't think he has playing opportunities here because Preston Smith and Za'Darius Smith are here. But as you'll see in this graphic right here, this is a very common play design from Mike Pettin, or different variations of this, where Za'Darius Smith or someone else among the edge group will actually play inside. That opens the door for another player. Last year was a combination of Rashan Gary and Kyler Fackrell to line up as that traditional edge rusher. Kyler Fackrell played 467 snaps for this team, as opposed to Rashan Gary's 200 or so. So expect Rashan Gary to get at least double the amount of snaps that he got last year. He's healthy. He's reshaped his body. I think this team has big plans for him after spending the number 12 overall pick on him last year. All of these things leading to Rashan Gary making the number 9 spot on my list. Number 8, we are going to stay inside the NFC North with Anthony Miller, a wide receiver, a second-round pick in 2018 coming out of Memphis. Miller has all of the tools to be a high-level separator in the NFL. He has great run-after-the-catch ability as well. He's a great high-character prospect as well. Unfortunately, between injuries and poor quarterback play, he just hasn't had that great opportunity to break out yet. And I think that while it's not ideal still in 2020, I think he's poised for a great season here in Chicago. Whether it's Nick Foles coming in and providing more of a high floor for this offense, whose skill set would actually work really well with Miller in the short to intermediate passing game, or if Trubisky can figure a few things out just enough to get Miller the ball a little more effectively, I think things will shape up better for Miller to be poised for that big third season here. Number 7, another small school day 2 prospect that I loved, that I think is going to get the surrounding circumstances he needs to succeed as a wide receiver, and that is Diontae Johnson. A very similar prospect to Anthony Miller, has the speed and quickness to separate, outstanding run after the catch ability, as he showed on some pretty crazy plays last year, and that was with Duck Hodges at quarterback, where he really started to click once he had a quarterback that could just get him the ball, and once he settled in. Diontae Johnson was one of my better draft calls of 2019. I said the Pittsburgh Steelers would draft him with the pick that they traded Antonio Brown for, and I compared Diontae Johnson in a lot of aspects to Antonio Brown. The Steelers have an excellent eye for this wide receiver position. Look for Diontae Johnson to not just break out this year, but challenge a conversation on, is he a better receiver than Juju Smith-Schuster? Number 6, getting into some deeper waters here, TJ Edwards, an undrafted free agent rookie linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles last season, did have limited playing time and was never a full-time starter. But the Eagles are seeing a lot of turnover at that linebacker position. Nigel Bradham, notably, is gone. TJ Edwards projects as the full-time starter at middle linebacker and can go from showing some flashes, especially in run defense, but has the athleticism to be a good cover player, go from a guy that showed flashes to being a legitimate high-impact starting linebacker for a defense that needs someone to step up at that position. Edwards, to me, was never a guy that should have been undrafted, was a good athlete coming out of Wisconsin. So a bit of a diamond in the rough prospect here that the Eagles are really hoping to turn a big corner in 2020. Number 5, Brian O'Neill, offensive tackle for the Minnesota Vikings. He has been a hot track for development since coming into the league. Was drafted as what was considered by most a raw, athletic, converted tight end prospect coming out of Pittsburgh. Well, he has found a home here with this outside zone scheme in Minnesota that really does a good job of capitalizing on his athleticism. He has done an excellent job developing as a run blocker, showing that get off and the ability to get low and use some power that we didn't know he had coming out of Pittsburgh as a tight end conversion kind of guy. Where he's really stepped up, however, is in pass protection, showing that length and foot speed to get depth in his drops and use those long arms to get his hands inside and show some of that improved pass blocking technique. The athleticism was never a question for him, but the fact that his technique has come as far as it has now paired with the athletic traits, Brian O'Neill is a guy that I've always said has the upside and physical comparison of one of the best tackles in the league in Lane Johnson. And I think he's shown that he very well could have that sort of potential given how well he's developed since he came out of Pittsburgh. Next up, we have Hayden Hurst, who was acquired in a trade for a second-round pick by the Atlanta Falcons, trading for the former first-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens. Hayden Hurst, while maybe never will be an elite tight end, is coming in to fill the void left behind from a big free agent loss in Austin Hooper, who is one of the most productive tight ends in the NFL last season. Personally, I actually think Hayden Hurst is a better athlete than Austin Hooper, and will have an opportunity to really emerge as maybe not a top 5, top 8 tight end, but a really high quality starter. I actually didn't love this trade from Baltimore. He was a really nice counterpunch to Mark Andrews in there in Baltimore, and I think Atlanta has seen his development. He is an older rookie, was 25 years old entering the league, so I believe he's going to be 28 years old this year. But I think getting that opportunity to be a full-time starter here that he never had in Baltimore, in a system with a quarterback that loves to utilize those tight ends, I think Hayden Hurst is going to have a really productive season and establish himself as a top tight end in this league, or at least a really high-quality starter in that 8 to 12 range of starting tight ends. Number 3, over to the AFC East, Tremaine Edmunds. One of the freakiest athletes in the league, was the 12th overall pick for Buffalo in 2018. Edmunds was only 20 years old when he got drafted, and that's at a position that requires a high IQ of the game and a lot of experience to play well. And Edmunds has been developing. He hasn't been a perfect player since he got here, but he's only 22 years old, and in his final game of the season last year against Houston, I was blown away by the job he did at middle linebacker, showing off some coverage ability, but also that sideline speed to contain Deshaun Watson, thumping in the run game. They have other coverage players here to potentially supplement a lack of quickness as a cover player, but he's a good athlete. He can still cover over the middle of the field, but complementing that with potentially elite run defense next year, taking on that leadership role on this defense and being that heat-seeking missile in the middle of the field at 6'5", 250 pounds with long arms can really be a menace for opposing quarterbacks and offensive coordinators to try and get around this guy, because it's going to be a really difficult task next season in year 3, I think, for Tremaine Edmunds. Number 2, Jamel Dean. If he is not on your radar as one of the up-and-coming corners in this league, put him on it. 6'1", 205 pounds, physically identical to Stephon Gilmore with speed to complement the size. A player that fell under the radar in the draft, was a 3rd-round pick for the Bucs in 2019. Forced his way on the field and outperformed some other corners that were bigger investments, guys like Sean Murphy-Bunting and Carlton Davis, who have some promise in their own right, but Jamel Dean really fits the mold of these Marshawn Lattimore, Jair Alexander, Denzel Ward. Cornerbacks with the size to play on the perimeter, can come inside with the athleticism to run man, but also the zone awareness and ability to find the ball and get in the way of passing lanes in zone coverage as well. Jamel Dean on a Bucs team that is frankly going to get a lot of attention this year. I think Jamel Dean is going to be a large part of some surprising defensive success for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020. Then the number 1 player on my list, Kyler Murray. And I know what you're thinking. How can the number 1 overall pick from last year's draft be considered a breakout player? Well, the Cards won, 5, 6 games. And yeah, Kyler won Offensive Rookie of the Year, but 62 PFF passing grade was really good. And I don't think anyone's expecting him to be any worse than that. But I'm saying breakout, as in Patrick Mahomes in year 2, Lamar Jackson in year 2, MVP candidate type of breakout. I really believe in the Kyler Murray explosion. The MVP in the last 2 seasons has been almost identical to what we've seen here with Kyler Murray, where the team drafted the guy high, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and perhaps needed a year to kind of get everything in place for these guys to really thrive. And you want to talk about Kyler Murray's skill set, he is almost a healthy balance between Lamar and Patrick Mahomes. Doesn't have the running ability of Lamar Jackson, doesn't quite have the arm talent of Patrick Mahomes, but both of those traits are elite for Kyler Murray at the quarterback position. He's only played 2 years of organized football, is only going to get better at processing defenses and making the right decisions, something he didn't suck at as a rookie, but obviously, as most rookies do, did have a bit of a learning curve. He's got the perfect offense around him. He's got DeAndre Hopkins now, maybe Andy Isabella in year 2, an improved offensive line, year 2 in this Cliff Kingsbury offense. If you are a gambler and you don't have a bet on Kyler Murray to win the MVP, I think you're wasting your money. It is well worth a $5 to $10 flyer to win a couple $100. Worst case scenario, you have an extremely explosive player to cheer for the 2020 season. So there is your list of breakout players for 2020. Again, guys, this video will probably get copyright flagged by the NFL, and I'm okay with that. Sometimes a video like this is just too good to not include tape. But if you want to support the video and support the channel for this, if you enjoyed, please consider a donation or signing up for my Patreon, where you can get other film breakdowns among other videos. And again, please do hit that like button. Leave your comments below as well who you think will break out next season. I hope you enjoyed the video. Certainly a fun one to make. Cheers as always, and we'll see you for the next one. Peace out, everyone.